So welcome to a brand new series on the Knox channel, and one that I'm super excited about. And if you're a regular here, you probably recognize this motorcycle. This is my own Suzuki GSXR 750. It's quite often featuring on our social media, and it'll also rear its head in some of the video content that we do as well. Now, I've really ummed and ahed over the past year whether I should get rid of it or not, and change it to something new. Really lucky here at Knox, we get to test an array of bikes, and there's just some fantastic new machinery out there. You know, I tested that Super Duke, I'm like, oh, should I get that? 890 Duke, oh, should I get that? You know, and they're all fantastic bikes. But last year I took this out on track a couple of times at Alton Park, and honestly I just fell back in love with it. I totally understood it almost like the first time what this bike was designed for, and I found a new respect for it, and I really want to go on and do more track days, become a better rider as well. So while I've fallen back in love with the bike, I've decided to upgrade it in certain areas. So this series is not going to be about making this bike into a race bike or a track only bike. It's going to be a 50% road bike, 50% track bike. And all the customizations that I'm going to be doing are not going to disadvantage one area over the other. So it's about making it as good as it can be, me growing with it as a rider and me learning along the way as well. And I think there's plenty to learn. I've already come into some complications, and hopefully this series will help you guys get over some of the mistakes that I've already learned and already had to deal with as well. And hopefully it'll be a bit of an enjoyable series. So without further ado, we're going to get into the first part, and that is sorting the power out, which has been a real nightmare with this particular bike and the stuff that it came with when I bought it. So let me explain the problem, and let me explain where we're going to get to with the solution. We'll see you back here in a minute after I've explained. So in order for me to explain the problem, I need to quickly explain how a motorcycle makes its power in a way that even people like me can understand. A motorcycle makes its power via an explosion that happens within the engine. A mixture of fuel and air is inserted into a cylinder, and then they're ignited by your spark plug. This creates an explosion, and the energy that's created powers the motor and your motorcycle. But similar to any fire, the mixture of fuel and air is really important. If you add too much fuel, you'll suffocate it. Too little and it just won't have enough fuel. The mix of fuel and air needs to be right if you want to maximise the performance of your engine. But here's where it gets complicated, because if you could introduce more air and fuel into that cylinder, then that would maximise your potential even more. So this is why it's a standard feature of a race bike, is that the stock exhaust system is changed to one that allows more air to flow through the bike. Then the fuel is also increased to match that extra air by someone with the skills to get the perfect air-fuel mix, meaning that the bike produces even more power. And this all sounds really great in principle. And I thought so too. When purchasing my bike, it came fitted with a full exhaust system, and I thought great, and the bike was an absolute screamer. Fast forward to booking my track day and reading the entry requirements, I noticed the prominence of the sound test requirement stated 102 decibels at 7,000 RPMs for my 750. While sound regulations are much more lenient on race days, and some countries don't even have sound limits, UK track days are strict, and standard track days at Donington Park are even lower at 98 decibels. Obviously, not wanting to be turned away from the track before even turning a wheel, I bought a decibel meter and was really shocked to see my bike reading anywhere between 106 and 108 decibels. A few calls later and I found the only way to solve the situation was to get a baffle, and this definitely seemed to solve the noise issue. However, after fitting it, I could instantly feel a significant change in power. All the snap had gone from the power and it was really weak in comparison to normal. On track, the drive out the corners was pretty anemic in comparison to what it should be, and it also seemed to run a lot hotter than usual. So I decided I needed some extra help. I called up Jordan Bikes, who are a real expert remap tuner who could hopefully get the bike running right with the baffle in place. However, the results weren't great, and I proved I wasn't going mad as well. The bike was making 107 horsepower when it went in, and while the technician worked on it the best that they could, ultimately the baffle was really restricting the output, and we got it to 117 horsepower, not the mid 120s I was hoping for, and a test ride instantly proved the bike still wasn't performing right. Head down but not beaten, I went away and tried to find a different exhaust solution, but all of the companies I contacted couldn't give me a straight answer about sound management and performance without standard header pipes. RaceFit provided a little input on their FAQs saying don't try our exhaust on a quiet track day. Usually the simplest advice is to slip on your standard OEM exhaust for the track day. Black Widow gave the most help and said that once the catalytic converter is removed, the silencer is the only thing to control the noise, and theirs could, but only they could guarantee it with the baffle in place. Scorpion could only provide sound information with the cat in place as well. So while it seems that a full race exhaust system are a good thing for racing, for my track day setup it's just not gonna work. So I went back to the drawing board and scoured the internet for something really special. So here she is, and I can't believe this thing is going back on the Gixxer. Amazing. I bought this whole system on eBay for like 150 quid, and do you know what, the guy who was selling it has never even used it. He got his GSXR 750 and I think he probably only rode like 10 miles, he said, on it, and he whipped the whole system off and put an aftermarket one on. So this has been sat in his garage for like 8 years and he hasn't done anything with it. We're going to be putting this on the bike. I have to say it's quite heavy, and I think this is going to be a bit of a weight gain over the previous one, but we will check that out on the scales. I think I'm just going to have to lose that weight anywhere else, which is, there's plenty of timber on us at the moment, so maybe I need to lose a few kilos to compensate, but let's get on with the job and see how we get on. So as you can probably tell, we've been doing some other bits to the bike as well, but that's for the next series. So the first job is to get this exhaust off. I've got Jeff, who's with me as well, who's going to be helping me throughout the job to get this done, you know, because everyone needs a dad with them when they're fixing up their motorbike, don't they? And my dad's with me, and we're going to do this together and have a bit of a laugh doing so, hopefully. So a bit of an update then. We've been working on it a few hours, haven't we?
We have, yes, but you know, we've made progress, and that's what's important. You know, got that those header pipes off, but the gaskets were so stuck in. I think that previous owner has put some kind of exhaust rubber around them, sealant, and it's just glued everything in. There's just loads of sealant everywhere.
And it's just been hard work, hasn't it?
Oh, it's just been a nightmare getting the gaskets out. But they're out now, and it's cleaning up. So you know, we're ready to stick the rest of the new header pipes on.
But we're having such a lot of fun.
Oh!
Right. Well, there's the exhaust sets. What's your predictions?
5 kilos, 3 kilos heavier.
Right, go on then.
Okay.
Yeah. So that 5.7.
5.7.
5.7.
10.5.
5 kilos.
You were just bang on, weren't you?
Yeah.
5 kilos. That's incredible. That's 10 kilos. I'll do push-ups with that in the morning.
5 kilos. How much is that?
No, the exhaust.
Yeah.
10 kilos. Well, it's 50% heavier, isn't it?
Yes, it's twice. Yeah.
Twice the weight. That's 5.7. That's 10.5. So you know.
Is that how much is that in stone? That 2 2.2 pounds to a kilo.
Hope you're not recording our maths.
Yeah, but you know what? I need to lose a stone. I think I'm carrying about.
Right,
I'm carrying about half a stone under my chin.
Ride it without an exhaust, then.
Yeah. So, well, if there was ever an excuse, a good reason.
Yeah, but I don't think you've actually come to the nub of it yet. But that 5 kilos, you've saved 5 kilos in weight, but you've lost 20 horsepower in doing it.
Well, with the baffling, yeah. So hopefully we'll gain. You know, we'll gain. Yeah, we'll gain some power. There we go. Let's get it on. So as you can see, we're now totally fitted with the full system standard exhaust. I'm really happy with the way it looks. I think it looks fantastic actually. I'm also really happy about the sound control as well. As you can tell on camera, it's kicking out 94 decibels now at 7,000 RPM. And ultimately what that means is that I'm going to be able to go to any track day in the UK, quiet, loud, whatever, not have to think about baffles, not have to worry about getting turned away. It's just a headache removed basically, and I'm really happy about that. So I've also just done a little commute on it as well, and my first impressions are absolutely fantastic. The bike feels like it's got way more grunt than it's ever had before, way more mid-range, picking up from about 6,000 RPM than I've ever experienced this motorcycle with before, with or without the baffle in, with the old full system. So my first impressions for the performance are fantastic. As part of the job, I've also stuck in a K&N air filter with the mindset that that'll flow a little bit more air into the bike as well. And I don't know whether it's just because the exhaust is quieter, or it's just because I've got the K&N filter, but all of a sudden this induction noise is going on as well, and it sounds absolutely mint. So the combination of the exhaust and the air filter all of a sudden seems to have changed the characteristic of the bike in a really good way, and I'm very happy about that. Also, I'm not 100% on my mindset yet with it, but I think it might have changed the engine braking characteristic as well, in terms of it's a lot less like snatchy when you're going down gear. It just feels a little bit more smooth. I probably need to ride the bike a bit more before I come to a full conclusion about that, but that was my initial impressions. But the way it rides, very, very good. So admittedly, the exhaust isn't quite working 100% yet. We did install the SET valve and wiring, basically because I want this system just to work the way that the Suzuki engineers designed it to. And also it does help with the suppressing the noise at idle as well. So I wanted it to work, but after a bit of head scratching and figuring stuff out, we actually found that the servo motor wasn't working because it'd been disconnected at the last dyno session. And the way that the wires are at the moment connected up, it's kind of left the valve like half open, half closed. So basically that whole exit valve thing on the exhaust at the moment isn't quite working right. So I'm really excited to see, once we do get it working right, again, what is the benefit, what's the feeling like. So obviously, as part of what we've done, fitting a whole new exhaust system, putting a different air filter on, we've changed again totally the fueling of the bike. So we've booked back in again to go for another session at Jordan Bikes to get this bike singing basically. They're going to reinstall the servo motor, get that working again, fine tune the air fuel ratio again, and I'm really excited for the full results. Obviously normally we'd shoehorn the results into this film, into this video, but you know, various bits and pieces have been delayed due to COVID and stuff, so we're gonna have to wait for a month to actually reveal the results. But my initial impressions are that they're going to be pretty good, but you'll have to wait for about a month until you see the final results, so stay tuned for that. So in many ways, and for you guys watching, you're probably thinking, well, this is the first episode of this series, kind of looks like he's going backwards really, and to me it almost feels a bit like that as well, putting like a stock product back on after an aftermarket one's been fitted. And I know it's a bit of a controversial subject because I know that loads of people out there fit aftermarket exhaust systems to their motorcycles, and I'm not saying they're not right for you, I'm not saying that they don't sound great, and I'm definitely not saying that they're not the right thing for racing teams who go racing at weekends where there's less noise restrictions. It clearly is the right solution for that, and in all likelihood I possibly could have solved it another way. You know, maybe I could have found, you know, bought 10 different exhaust end cans of varying different lengths and got them to pass that noise test, but honestly I didn't want to waste that amount of money only to then not really solve the problem and still be sort of bumping up against the marshal who's holding the noise tester on the day. This way basically has just solved it, and I don't even need to think about noise anymore or performance on the bike. I just need to go and ride, and I think that's a really good thing. So I really hope you've enjoyed this first episode. We've got loads of really exciting and cool stuff coming for this project that I'm very excited about. Of course, if you want to see the results, tune back in and stay in touch with what the channel's doing, because they're going to come out part 2 in about a month's time. So please like, please comment, let us know what you think, subscribe to the channel, check out the gear that we wear and that we make at Knox as well, and we'll see you next time.